right, so you didn't watch the prequels for this. This was like a last minute deal where I was just like, hey, we should do this. We should have done an episode for each movie.
We haven't actually been able to make videos here recently because our equipment has just been not working with us. We're actually sitting on, 2 or 3 videos?
Yeah.
That, you know,
I haven't gotten to editing because of life.
Yeah, it's just been kind of hectic and everything, and then things haven't been working properly. So this is kind of just our way to make a video.
Yeah, get back into swing things.
Yeah, and why not? It's Star Wars.
Yeah, and I in January I'm going to be starting my own channel.
Oh yeah.
And I think we'll put like movie stuff there. But
I can come along.
Sure, if you, sometimes.
Sure.
I should have made like just a general channel where I could put up whatever, but I do feel like Super Bros should be its own thing.
Sure.
But anyway, we'll talk more about that when it's relevant. So anyway, you didn't watch the prequels again.
No, I didn't feel the need to.
Okay, I did. Just for completionist sake, really.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the prequels? Even though you haven't seen them since they were out, right?
Yeah, no. Phantom Menace, I've probably seen more than the others.
Yeah.
Like I said, I remember I think I skipped school, took half a day, and went and saw it. It was a big deal. I mean, it was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
And it was whatever. I didn't really care either way.
But you still ended up seeing it a bunch?
Well, no, I only once in theaters.
Oh, okay.
But then, it was the first one to be released on DVD, so, that was a big deal. And, I remember when it came out on DVD, I watched it.
I had it on VHS, too.
And then when the second one came out, I went to the midnight showing.
Oh, really?
Of Attack of the Clones, me and a buddy.
Wow.
And we were jumping around for Yoda and the lightsaber thing. But again, I was kind of bored also because they're long movies, man.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Natalie Portman fan. And that kind of really got me first because I was like, oh man, I love Natalie Portman. I've loved her since The Professional.
You're much more of an actor person than I am.
I'm a person. Like if a writer is writing, But no,
I'm an idea person and a theme person.
Whatever. I'm a person. And I've loved Natalie Portman since The Professional. Beautiful Girls, which I know a film you love.
I hated that.
I love it. And, so when she was on being Star Wars, I was like, oh, that's great. And also I wanted to see how, the Anakin, what's her name, Leia?
Padme. You are thinking of Amidala.
Okay. Padme and Anakin, I kind of wanted to see how that relationship came about. Because I remember there was an Attack of the Clones trailer in front of Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. I saw it, and there was a kid beside me that started crying. I wanted to be like, shut up, kid! But, I was like a 19-year-old as a kid.
What's interesting is that the trailer for Revenge of the Sith was with The Incredibles.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I remember, going to see the trailer. And the trailer wasn't on it.
Funny story. He went to see Godzilla, and he was excited because the trailer for Inception was going to be on it. And I watched the trailer for Inception at my house, and I texted him, and I said, hey, that trailer... I didn't get it.
You mean Interstellar?
Interstellar. Oh, Interstellar. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was like...
Funny story. He went to see Godzilla. Funny story. He went to see Godzilla because the Interstellar trailer was on it. And I texted him. I was like, hey, that trailer looks really good. And he wrote back, I didn't get it. So then I wrote this really long thing. I'm like, yeah, I didn't get it either. I don't know what they're trying to do. Or da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, no, I didn't get it. It wasn't in front of Godzilla. But, so anyway, yeah. So then the Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
I saw that one. I had a really bad
10 years ago, 2005.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Had a bad experience with that at the theater. Some personal stuff was going on, but I liked it. I remember when Anakin kills the little Jedis, I felt something. And I was like, man, that's the first time Lucas has made me feel anything since Graffiti. And I thought that was a really well done, not montage, I guess, scene. And I really was like, oh. And then I was like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I feel like at this point the prequels are almost impossible to judge because I've gone back and forth on them. When I saw them initially, I loved them, but then people criticized them, and I started
second guessing it.
Well, it's also just I wanted to grow as a person, and I wanted to be like more critical of film.
Sure.
So like, I started understanding the problems people had, and I started thinking, yeah, I guess I see that now. And then I started thinking, well, I think it might be somewhere more in the middle, where my love and the criticism like are two extremes. However, I rewatched these.
You watched all three of them?
Yeah. It was almost in like a 24-hour span. So I watched one night, and then I watched the next one in the morning, and then I watched the other one the following night.
I know I texted you one night. You didn't text me back. And I was like, you texted me back like 2 hours later. I was like, you all right? And you're like, yeah, Mom. And I was like, I just want to make sure you weren't dead. And you're like, I was watching Attack of the Clones. I was like, oh, all right.
It was Phantom Menace.
Oh.
But so I rewatched them for this. I really liked them. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Much like people's overrating of Empire, I feel like most people are wrong on the prequels.
If you like them, you like them.
Yeah, and
I think why people get so obsessed about them being bad or whatever is because they're linked to the first three.
And it's also, Obi-Wan was telling you that story in A New Hope about, the golden age of the Jedi. Whatever you created in your mind is going to be better than any story somebody could tell, on the one hand. On the other hand, they could have gone in a different direction. I think the prequels are actually sort of a critique of the Star Wars, or of the original trilogy. You need to watch them second. Like, watching them in episode order makes no sense, in my opinion. Because you need to be told what the Force is and who the Jedi were, and then you actually see what they were. And, they're not good. They're a weird religion that, again, outlaws sex. And,
how they don't want him to hook up with Padme?
Yeah. None of them are married. None of them,
They're monks.
Yeah, well, we know in real life, weird sexual repression in religion leads to bad things, whether Catholicism or Islam, so...
We're getting deep on this show.
That's where I always want to be, deep into the pool.
Sometimes I like just to tip my toes in.
If you are watching this just for Star Wars, this is sort of how we are when we're playing games too.
Yeah, we're talking about stuff that we're not just talking about Mario.
I'm trying to, delve deep into like themes of art.
And I'm trying to get past level 1, 2.
So, I mean that's what I like about us.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting point, I guess.
But I feel like it's a tragedy what happens to Anakin in those movies. You never see him as the cool hero that Luke thought he was. But that's because he wasn't. They were all stories, and I think he fell through because he's picked up as a kid by these Jedis, initiated into this weird religious cult, and is told, oh, you can't love, no sex, blah blah blah. And it just leads to bad things happening.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to think the Republic and the Empire, they were like two superpowers at the same time, like America and the Soviet Union. And like the Soviet Union just won the war and took over the world. But that's not the case. The Empire is the Republic. The Republic became corrupt and turned into the Empire. So it's sort of a twist on, Luke, I am your father. Whereas, no, the Republic wasn't destroyed. The Empire is the Republic. And, it's not because of Palpatine. Like, I mean, Palpatine takes advantage of the corruption, to do what he wants to do.
Is that the Emperor?
Yeah. But he's not the one who set it in motion. It's all there because, it's inherently a bad system. So, there's something... It was pretty recent, but there was the Star Wars ring theory, where, and I had actually theorized this myself before I had heard of it, where the 6 episodes are supposed to be a cycle. You know, the rebels fight the Empire, restore the Republic. The Republic becomes corrupt, becomes the Empire again, and just goes round in a circle. Which is why Episode 1 has to be seen after Episode 6, because it's a circle that never ends. Of course, next week that circle will end.
Yeah.
We don't know what's coming. But I don't know. I think the prequels are good. And I'm putting my neck out there saying that because, you know, you're not allowed to say anything.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't. They didn't blow me over when I saw them.
Right.
But I'm not a sci-fi guy, and they're much more sci-fi.
I guess, yeah.
Because I mean, like,
they aren't trying to be, you know, family for everybody things. Like, they are, like, in the minutia of the politics and stuff.
Yeah, because, like, isn't Obi-Wan and, like, the second one just, like, a detective and chasing things?
It's like a Blade Runner stuff. And, you know, again, like the originals, it does a lot of things that the originals did that nobody really wants to talk about. And I think that's a shame. You know, it like those, it is borrowing from other films. You know, Ben-Hur with Chariot Race and the Pod Race. And, you know, we have Blade Runner and the Fifth Element in Episode 2. There's like Ray Harryhausen stuff with the creatures.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of stuff. And, you know, I like all that. I don't think it was meant to be like, and you know, the Anakin and Padme romance. I don't think it was meant to be like.
Well, that's what I went for.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't meant to be like a typical love story. It was, you know, meant to be more tragic, where, you know, these two end up together. They have to hide their secrets, and they end up, you know, she ends up dying. But you know,
he ends up pretty much dying.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's a lot there.
I know I was talking with I was in Massachusetts seeing my friend I guess last month, and we were talking about, you know, the new Star Wars, and he comes from he grew up on the movies, and you know, he was talking about the prequels, and saying how, you know, he remembers Obi-Wan telling Luke that, and, you know, about the Clone Wars and stuff, and so, you know, when he heard Attack of the Clones, or they mentioned it, he's like, oh man, he was excited to see, you know, and I think he felt like they were kind of a failure. I'm not saying that, I don't know exactly what he thought.
Right.
I don't recall. But I mean, we were talking about how I felt they were kind of a failure just for the simple fact that, you know, he's doing these 3 movies to tell the story, which I understand it needs to be 3 because of the episodes and all, but, you know, if he just wanted to tell us, because initially you think he's just telling the story of Vader, but he's really telling the story of all these other little things. And my problem with the prequels mainly is that they're just too long.
Yeah, you're not a fan of long movies.
I'm not a fan of long movies, but those are just really long. I mean, I don't think they're just a little over 2 hours, maybe.
Yeah, and then none of them are close to 3 hours.
No.
Like,
but they just feel, and it's because I don't necessarily care about the world as much. You know, I think there's other people out there that probably like the prequels just as much as you do, that are, you know, fans of this world, and I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the impact that Star Wars had, really. I mean.
Yeah, let's talk about the phenomenon.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, like Star Wars ended up. Lucas made a deal nobody is ever going to give anybody else again. He said, I want merchandising rights. And the guys were like, sure! This isn't going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
And boom.
Yeah.
You know, toys, video games. And also, you know, we had other writers, you know, making other stories. You know, it's sort of like in comic books where, like, you know.
Hey, I created this character.
Yeah, Superman, you know, created by, you know, Schuster.
One of those, him and someone else.
Yeah, Jerry and Joel.
They got screwed over.
Yeah. For everything I said, I'm going to put a little thing in. But, so I seem even smarter than I actually am. You know, no notes today. But, yeah, it's sort of like that, where the Marvel Universe, and any writer and artist can come in and do whatever. Or, well, you know, in the guidelines.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah. Have you taken part of any of that?
I know that one of my really good friends, when I was a kid and we were hanging out, I saw that he had the Star Wars, a couple of the novels. I never read those though. The only thing I ever took part in, well, again, also with Phantom Menace came out, that was a big deal, and I was working with a buddy of mine, and he, huge Star Wars fan. He actually had, I went to his house, and in his basement he had a room that was just, there's like a toy store, dude, and it just had nothing but Star Wars figures, like old ones, the new ones, and they were hanging up. It was crazy awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it. But no, the only thing I've ever gotten into was the Lego games, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
I played the Lego game.
The Star Wars ones were the first ones Lego did.
Yeah,
like, now they do them for like every movie.
And they only did it for Xbox, I think, also.
Oh.
The first time I ever played it, I only know that because on the DVD is an Xbox trailer.
Oh, yeah.
For the Legos. First time I played it was on a PS Vita. Vita? The first one.
PSP.
PSP, yeah. I don't know.
All right.
But
I'll help you out.
Put a thing up. And I loved it, man. It was great. And then that was just the first three, I think. And then they came out with the complete saga, and I played the heck out of them. I played some of the Clone Wars one, but I didn't like that one because the Lego games are really cool when they just stick to
the movie.
Yeah, like.
Or stick to what you know.
Yeah, like they do other ones, like the Batman's ones. I'm kind of done playing because the levels just become these really long levels, and C-3PO, but yeah, that's really the only thing. I mean, I watched the phenomenon. When Phantom Menace was coming out. I mean, I remember MTV did a special, and I watched that, and so like the hype, I've always kind of been I've always been more interested in the hype for these movies because it's a crazy hype.
The speculation is always fun. Again, you were talking about the prequels. Like, what's the Clone Wars? I thought that what it was going to be was that they were going to clone Darth Maul and they were going to clone Qui-Gon Jinn. Just because I couldn't believe that they would kill off both those characters. Yeah. It wasn't going to matter. Also, there was like speculation for a while that Palpatine and Darth Sidious were two separate characters, and that like one was a clone of the other. Like Darth Sidious is like his Sith name, but in regular life he's just Palpatine, Senator or Emperor. So like there was thought that Sidious is going to kill Palpatine and take his place, but they were the same person.
I think a problem the prequels do have, though, is that Lucas was all hands-on. I feel like...
Oh, we'll get to Lucas in a minute.
Okay.
But as far as, like, the extended universe, I played Knights of the Old Republic. That was on Xbox.
I never played any of the real games.
It's a role-playing game. But it's really, really good. And takes place, like, 1,000 years before Phantom Menace. So, like, no old characters. It's all new stuff.
I played Revenge of the Sith when it came out. I played it before I saw the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Somebody was like, dude, you're going to be spoiled. And I was, but whatever. It was fun.
I remember in that game, they had like an option where Anakin could win the fight.
I didn't get that far.
Oh, okay. But anyway, yeah, I've like read some comics. I've read a couple books. None of the big ones. Like everyone talks about the Thrawn trilogy, I think it's called. It was like it was supposed to take place after Return of the Jedi, and it was like everyone thought of as next best thing to the movies. And now that's no longer canon because since the Disney thing, like all that old stuff is gone. Like that's no longer official.
I mean, it's still out there. But
Right. But I mean, like...
It's not the official storylines.
Right. And if they're going to be making new movies, it can't be.
Sure.
But, in some ways, I think the phenomenon becomes... Like you said, the hype was more for you.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing you here. But I think a lot of fans see the phenomenon and they don't see the films. Which is why I wanted to sort of talk through the films and talk about them as actual movies. Instead of, a window into another world. I think a lot of people see it as just a role-playing exercise. It's another world and how that all works. They don't care about, the filmmaking. They don't care about, like, what the film is saying.
I much more care about the filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. But I'm just saying, like, the majority of like the Star Wars nuts out there,
I think, well, in defense of the Star Wars nuts out there, I think there's a part of the films that really captured something in them.
Yeah,
that's why they.
I don't want to be too critical.
Yeah,
because I do think that there's good things out there, and that if it does affect you, in a good way, then that's good. But
I mean, there's definitely always somebody that's just at the party because people were there.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a whole bunch of people over here, so.
I don't know. I get really down about like consumerism, and
well,
people buying the toys and not opening them. I don't know. I don't get it, and
that's a shot at me.
It's not. I swear.
I buy toys and don't open them.
That's only been recent.
No, I used to buy toys and not open them.
Really?
Yeah, but then I really wanted to play with my Ninja Turtles when I was 18.
Okay.
I
don't know. I just feel like there's people that just miss the message.
The other reason the things I collect, I just think they look better not open.
I guess. I mean,
but no, there are people out there
to each their own.
Are just buying things because, hey, 20 years from now, this should sell for.
Well, it's not just that. It's I don't know. I don't think they really understand the message of the movies. Where Luke throws down his lightsaber.
Well, it's
not to fight. And
yeah, but who's to blame these people that are buying these things? Lucas is pimping out everything.
Okay, so yeah, I'm now convinced that he did all that just so that he could keep on making the movies. He's
still doing it though.
He wanted not anymore. He doesn't have anything.
Yeah, he got paid what? Millions of dollars to sell it.
Billions, and he donated a vast majority of it to charity.
That's great, but what I'm saying is like Star Wars has always been pimped out.
But it was to ensure that he had financial ground to be an independent. He wanted final cut and final.
But that's fine, but you can't be upset if people are buying all these things.
I think.
Look, if you push a wheel down a hill, you can't be upset when it starts hitting houses.
I guess I can't argue with that. All right, let's talk about George Lucas for a minute.
Okay.
What do you think about him?
I've never been a fan. I never was a fan of him. I came to it late, with Star Wars. And then, really the first time I ever went into seeing something that, he did was Phantom Menace. I believe I'd seen American Graffiti, and I really liked that movie. I think that's a great film. But yeah, no, I always thought he was kind of a hack. Because I always felt like, and the reason I felt this way was because I always felt like he never did anything other than Star Wars. And then I didn't realize he didn't even do Empire and Jedi. He didn't direct those.
Right.
Now, granted, I know he worked on the Indiana Jones, and he did Howard the Duck. But Willow he worked on, yeah. But again, it's things that he didn't direct. And
Radioland Murders.
Oh, he did that? I like that. But yes, I always kind of thought he was kind of like a hack. But now when I look at him, I feel like he's just, especially watching Star Wars again and seeing that it is a great film, and seeing it as a whole, not just the scenes that you see over and over again, like seeing it, and thinking of American Graffiti. I think, he is very talented. I think he just got obsessed with this one idea, and I think that maybe ruined his career. And I mean, obviously it didn't. He's famous. He's, has money. He could make a movie tomorrow, I'm sure, if you want. He said he wants to go back to making, smaller films, which I really respect.
He's been saying that for like a decade.
Yeah.
But
Francis Ford Coppola said the same thing though, and that hasn't worked out well for him.
Well, he's been doing it, and they haven't been turned out good.
Yeah. But but that's I think Lucas just got obsessed with this Star Wars thing, and it was easy to do, and I think it's not pigeonholed him, but it's held him back. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, Spielberg comes from that same era, and he had hits, but
he had a wide variety.
But he decided to continue to do things.
He didn't do 5 ETs.
But yeah, that's the thing. He decided, he tried different things. Some of the things didn't work, most did. And I think if Lucas maybe would have tried more different things, I feel the same way about Francis Ford Coppola. Like, he kind of...
I think you get down on that guy more than he deserves.
Is Francis?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did Godfather 1, 2.
Apocalypse Now.
A Conversation, which I haven't seen.
That's a great film. Dracula.
I haven't seen that. He did The Outsiders.
Not many people agree with me on that.
He did The Outsiders, which, was good. But, I mean, he came off...
Jack.
You gotta mention the Rainmaker while you're at it? But, I mean, he came off this bang, 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 and he just kind of dropped down, I feel. And, again, I can't fault him for it, I guess. I mean, when you're doing, 4 great films like that, or, 4 supposedly great films, I don't know, Spielberg's just I guess he's the fluke in the bunch.
Mm.
But I feel like he's done different things.
Zemeckis.
We're throwing him in this?
I don't know, he was around in the 80s.
Yeah, I'm talking about started in the 70s.
Okay.
Continuing. I mean, he may have, but I mean, nobody's saying Zemeckis.
All right, anyway, let me tell you what I think of George Lucas.
Go ahead.
I love him. I do. I think he's wildly misunderstood. At this point, I don't blame him for wanting to get out.
No.
I don't blame him for what he said. I think he has gotten hate that's been like all out of proportion. I feel sorry, really, that the culture has done this to him. That he's oh man, I'm so excited for episode 7. Lucas isn't going to do anything with it.
I said that, and I stand by that a little bit.
I don't want to speculate too much on the new movie. Obviously, it's coming out next Friday. We're going to see it then.
Yeah. So our review will be a little bit later than...
Yeah, it'll probably be in the evening that day. But it's not going to... We're not seeing the midnight showing or anything.
No.
I'm
old. I can't.
I want to speculate on it just because it feels a little late in the day to be doing that. But after watching all these, I'm now sort of convinced that I have a bad feeling about this, to borrow something somebody said. Because I do think Star Wars is a personal film series. I do feel like it's George Lucas's statements. And him not having anything to do with it, that he actually submitted things and Disney rejected it. I don't think this bodes well for art. Alright, well, like...
Well, hold on a second.
Hmm?
Okay, you made great points about what the first 3 films are. And,
I would have gladly talked about the prequels, but you didn't watch them, so...
But I mean, you feel like those have personal storylines as well?
I think I said that, the original trilogy is all about Vietnam.
Yeah.
The prequels are all about 9/11.
And the one came out before 9/11.
I know, but it's like the calm before the storm. It fully captures what 1999 was like.
It was fun.
Where like this
Limp Bizkit was on the radio.
There's a dark shadow that's creeping over, and like a big catastrophe is about to happen. And Attack of the Clones made right after 2002, and it feels like that's what that's all about. And
I'd love to be inside your head for just a day.
It's fun, let me tell you. It's almost like I don't know. Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith are sort of like a loose change, where it's entirely a conspiracy theory that
put a link up for that documentary.
It's entirely about George Bush doing 9/11, because Palpatine's behind it all. He's controlling the war from both sides. So yeah, I do think that the prequels are just as personal as the originals.
Okay.
And also, like, Luke Skywalker, Luke S. Lucas. Yes. Luke Skywalker is totally George Lucas's insert in that movie. And in the prequels, it's the same thing. He is now identifying himself as Darth Vader. He sees, himself almost like as the head of an empire. And I don't know, I don't think he's happy with it. And he gave it all up.
But I think, you saying Disney rejecting some of the things he said, I think that's kind of smart on their opinion, or on their whatever, because he's so deep in it. I don't know, sometimes I look at him and I think like he's a mad genius who's just nothing but papers, and he's like, ah!
Well, I also
he's
not...
Howard Dean. Ah!
Well, now it's like the whole authorship thing. Like, it's almost like no matter how good The Force Awakens could be, is it just fan fiction?
Well, I know you have a big issue with that, and you've had issues with it. Because first you were upset they were going to use Star Wars Episode 7, and then I said, hey, you see it's not called that anymore? And you're like, yeah, I don't like that now. And
I go back and forth.
I was like, couldn't you ever be happy?
I do believe the crawl will say Episode 7.
Oh, it was.
It's not on the posters, but...
Well, Empire wasn't. It wasn't Episode 7 then. It wasn't Episode...
You mean New Hope is the one that doesn't have it.
Well,
Empire has Episode 5 on it.
On the scroll, but not on the posters.
Oh, sure, okay. Yeah. Because they are trying to say, this is a continuation of the original trilogy.
But at the same time... Well, yeah, maybe, but I think they're also trying to say, look, this is a continuation of this story, but at the same time, when they come out, I think they're going to say episode. I don't know.
But how is it... See, like, even though it's taking place after Episode 6, it is being released after Episode 3.
What are we talking about anymore?
I'm just saying it's going to break the ring. Because, like, as I said, it's a cycle.
Yeah, it's a new cycle.
Well, we'll see how it works.
I don't know. I'm excited for the new one. I'm excited for new filmmaker to be working on it.
I don't like J.J. Abrams.
I like him. I didn't like his Star Trek films, but I think everything else he did was very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Star Trek films.
Mission Impossible 3 really made me think this guy should be directing Star Wars.
He didn't want to do it. They asked him to do it, and he kept saying no. And I thought the Star Trek films were fine, but I really liked Super 8. I really liked Mission Impossible 3.
All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to speculate.
Sure. But that excites me.
There is one thing I want to throw out there.
Sure.
Because I've seen nobody else talk about this, and it's something that I've been thinking about. What do you think the title means?
Force Awakens?
Yeah. Like when they first put that out there, everyone was like, "This is the most generic title you could possibly have for a Star Wars film."
I think we all know what it means. Well, I'm speculating then.
All right. What do you?
I think one of the characters, preferably, I believe the female character.
Yeah.
What's her name? Rey.
Yeah.
Is a Jedi, and the Force Awakens inside her. It's a film about puberty and a woman finding her sexual independence.
Well, that would sort of line up with everything, wouldn't it?
That's what I always took it as.
Here's what I can't get it out of my head. That what if like the Force itself is awakening? What if the Force has a consciousness? What if the Force has been like a slumbering god this whole time and is now waking up because of Darth Vader's sacrifice of himself?
Well, why is it taking 30 years?
I don't know. I'm probably wrong.
He hit the snooze button. He's like, he didn't have to get up to do it. He just did this.
I'm probably wrong, but I like to think
it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and speculation again is one of the most fun parts.
I don't know. I like I said, I'm excited to see a new. And again, I'm not, a huge fan of this world. So, whatever. If the movie's not good, it's not good. If it's great, whatever. It doesn't affect me much. But coming as an outsider to it, I'm kind of excited to see a new hand in it. Only because I think Lucas had too much hand in the last 3. Like, I don't think I would usually like that. Like, if a creator left the show.
I need hand. I have no hand.
But if a creator of a show left, I usually get a little upset.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But I think this is kind of a good thing. We'll see.
Well, I think that's a good enough place to end our conversation.
I think we should. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I think we should let them know that we're also watching all of the Alvin and the Chipmunk movies to prepare us for Road Chip. So that'll be a separate video. We're going to analyze them.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, don't be on the lookout for that. But
that'll be on my channel.
We will be doing another video next week where we're going to talk about Force Awakens. It's going to be all spoilers.
Yeah, it'll probably be very spoilery.
I do want to throw some thoughts out to if you happen to like our conversation, other people I think, are worth, reading or listening to.
Sure.
I got a couple books here I want to show. This is Star Wars, the annotated screenplays.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I might check that out, man.
Yeah, it came out in '97. I guess for the special editions.
30th edition.
I bought it in 2005 when Revenge of the Sith came out. It's really good. It has quotes from the filmmakers as well as things that they changed through drafts and stuff.
Very cool.
It's official too. It's really, really good. I also have here The Secret History of Star Wars. This is very unofficial. It's called The Art of Storytelling and the Making of a Modern Epic. It's very big. It's over 600 pages, including index. But it goes very deep into how Star Wars became the way it was. It starts at the beginning of Lucas's life and charts,
his car accident and all that stuff.
Yeah, and like how the scripts came to be, different changes they did. It gets a little repetitive. I feel like they could have edited some of it out, but it is, I think, essential to understanding how Star Wars is the way it is.
But it's unofficial.
Right. Now I also have this. It's called George and Joe and Jack and Bob. I think the front cover is supposed to say "and me," but my copy got messed up, I think.
Showing the
this is a
spine there.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
This is a print-on-demand book from Andrew Rylestone. He's a blogger, and he's one of my favorite bloggers out there. This collects all of his Star Wars essays
that's cool.
and reviews. And the back part is also him deconstructing Joseph Campbell. Maybe not deconstructing, but talking about him.
Who's Joseph Campbell?
He's a guy who talks about storytelling and myths. And George Lucas was very much inspired by him, and call it the monomyth, which is this theory that there's a universal myth that runs throughout all of humanity. And George sort of took that for basically Star Wars. George is George Lucas. Joe is Joseph Campbell. Jack is Jack Kirby. Bob Dylan. Talks about all four of these.
Jack Kirby.
He was an artist for Marvel Comics.
That's what I thought.
I would also recommend the movie critic Vern, outlawvern.com. He takes a very unique approach to film criticism. I think it was last year, maybe sometime around then, he reviewed all 6 Star Wars films. He did it from the point of view of someone acting like he had never seen any of them and reviewing them in episode order, which I had never seen anybody actually attempt to do. People talk about it, but he's the only one who had the guts to do it. It was very interesting. At times it became too much of a joke, I think. Like he had to act like he didn't know things. Sure. But, it was a very unique approach, and he has an appreciation of Lucas that, other people don't. Right now he's doing a thing where he's reviewing all the non-Star Wars stuff Lucas did, and it's all very interesting.
That would be interesting.
Last guy I recommend is it's a guy on YouTube, Archen Gaia, the Lore Runner. He's one of my inspirations for getting into YouTube because he puts positivity and honesty as the cornerstones for what he does. And a lot of what he does is just talking to the camera with nothing, and it's so very interesting. He'll go on for hours ruminating on things. He's sort of like an old school nerd. He's really into role playing and Star Trek, and he did reviews for all of the Star Wars. They're all really good. He takes like the extra stuff more seriously than I do, but he's still somebody who's putting out unique stuff.
I have nobody to recommend.
Good night, everybody.